people we need to have here. As soon as everyone who wants to be seated, go ahead and get started, but we're not officially starting the meeting yet. It's not called to order, because I know I want to give people a minute to come inside and get settled down. I'm going to ask Okay, is that everyone? We have so many city staff here. I want to make sure I'm acknowledging the public. Okay, if everyone's ready, I think we'll call the meeting to order just in a moment. So I don't know if anyone from Art and Culture wants to join me for a second. So I'm Dale McNeil. I'm one of the assistant directors at the library. And I just want to give you a little bit of background before Mr. Stahl calls the first part of this meeting to order. And the first thing I want to let you know is that we do have Spanish language interpretation, and because it's not too helpful for people to hear that in English, if they speak Spanish, you're going to hear it in Spanish.
Buenas tardes, tenemos servicio de interpretación. Si requieren de nuestro servicio, estamos allá atrás sentadas con el equipo necesario. Gracias.
Okay, and if you all will help keep me honest, when the second part of our meeting starts again, if anyone has joined us, we'll make that announcement again, right? So y'all will have to help me remember to do that, because it's a little bit unusual of a setup we have tonight. So the first thing I want to tell you is that the first part of this meeting is a public meeting of the naming committee of the Board of Trustees of the San Antonio Public Library. And I'm going to say a little bit more about how that works in a moment, but next I want you to hear what is the second part of the meeting, which will begin at 6:30.
Hello, my name is Renee Telemontes. I am a public art project manager with the Department of Arts and Cultures. And so today, the second part, like Dale mentioned, we will discuss two public art opportunities in District 5. One is for Las Palmas Library, and then the other one is for Casiano Park. So you have surveys in your seats, and we'll be discussing those surveys in our portion of the meeting this evening. So, thank you.
Right, and if it makes sense to you all, we'll go ahead and start that meeting at the scheduled time, which may mean we have a little pause in the meantime, but we have plenty of snacks and water, and so I think that's better if someone was coming just for the park project, then they won't be coming in the middle of the meeting. So, Mr. Stahl, is it okay with you if I give a little introduction, or do you want to call the meeting to order first? Okay, so just as a little introduction, we're here to hear responses to a proposed name for the new enclosed plaza at the Las Palmas Library. So right now, this is the front of the library. You're all very familiar with it, I know. And while I'm talking, someone's going to come up and change it and show you from the inside what it's this same kind of round area in the front is going to be enclosed, and it will be a large enclosed meeting space. So this will not be instead of the meeting room. This will be in addition to the meeting room that's there. For the little bureaucratic part, in September 27th of 2017, the library's Board of Trustees approved the foundation to look for fundraising opportunities that involved a name for this area, and they set a minimum gift level for all of these opportunities. The minimum gift level that was set at that time was $100,000. So this is just $100,000 that goes into the project. So the person is giving the donation in response to the name. It's not that the money goes exactly, for the thing that's being named. Does that make sense? So recently, HEB has pledged and started the process of making the payments $250,000 to this project, which, as we all know, was a great relief because it's been a complicated project. And they have proposed a name, HEB Plaza at Las Palmas Branch Library. They wanted Las Palmas Branch Library to be in the name of the plaza, so it's very clear that the name of the library is Las Palmas Branch Library. So that's part of the name of the plaza that they're suggesting. So the purpose tonight really is to hear if anyone has any objections to that name. Of course, you can say other things. Each person who speaks will have 3 minutes to speak. And Haley right over here is going to be helping with the timing, so she'll let you know if you've reached your 3 minutes. We do have one already submitted written comment, which I'll read after we hear from people who are here. It only seems right to hear first from the people who are here. And I'll have the members of the naming committee introduce themselves momentarily. But I just want to acknowledge we have 2 other trustees here who are not members of the naming committee, and that is Joanne Harris, who's a trustee from District 2, and then I think many of you already know and have met Mary Ann Valdez Hernandez, who is a trustee from here in District 5. And with that being said, I'm just going to say one more other point of order. We all know so much construction and so on. If no one objects, if anybody comes that wants to speak to this naming and hasn't signed in, we're going to let them speak. They'll still need to sign in. Anybody have a problem with that? I think it's the only fair thing to do, because the person made the effort to come to the meeting. They just got here a little bit late, which we all know can happen to anyone. So with that said, we'll go ahead and get started. Oh, one more thing. If anybody came in after, we do have an interpretation, and then because the meeting is being live streamed, instead of speaking from your seat, if you'll come up to this podium and speak into the microphone, then people who are listening will be able to hear. I think that also helps the interpreters as well.
Thanks, Dale. I'll go ahead and call us to order so we can officially begin. Thank you, everyone, for showing up today. Apologize for being 8 minutes tardy. If I was still at St. Mary's University, I could have been here way early. Not much further away. I do apologize if I delayed us and if that's inconvenienced anyone. So in our course of taking public comments, right now we have 3 people signed up to speak. I also know we have comments that were submitted in writing. Would you want to go with that one first or that? Let's go ahead and have us start with those that are in attendance. I see some familiar faces and friendly names here. Delia. We have Delia Trimble, who is signed up first. Delia, welcome.
Thank you. Nice seeing you again.
You too.
Okay, and I'm Delia Ramirez Trimble. I'm president of the Friends Group at Las Palmas Library. And I really don't have an objection to the name. I really have questions about the name. The open area in front of the library has been referred to as a courtyard or patio, and most recently as a plaza. But once it's a glass enclosed area, it's supposed to be a meeting room. It's not a plaza anymore. Also, the 2022-27 bond project that included the Las Palmas Library stated, to renovate and improve the Las Palmas Library and adjacent public gathering plazas and spaces in support of a unified campus based on the West Side Strategic Area Study. The study describes the creation of a new plaza located between the YWCA and the Las Palmas Library building, a key aspect of the design that will help connect these two important community institutions and create a vibrant, flexible, multi-use space that anchors the site. Renderings in the study indicate there will be both a shaded open plaza and an open plaza between the library building and the YWCA. And when all else fails, go to the definition. A plaza is an open area or a square in a town. It's a marketplace. And to me, that sounds very commercial and very HEB-ish, which is okay since HEB is donating this, but do we want to name it the HEB Plaza at Las Palmas Library? So instead of HEB Plaza, should this be named the HEB Meeting Room or the HEB Atrium or some other designation? It's something for you to consider. And how will the name be shown? We don't want a large neon sign saying HEB Plaza because this is not commercial. This is the library. And will it simply be a plaque at the entrance? So those are my comments. Thank you.
Great, Debbie, thank you so much. Next, we have Velma Peña.
Hello. Just here to also echoing some of the things that Delia said. Without us knowing exactly what it's going to look like, where it's exactly going to be placed, I would like to see some of those things first, and that's why I'm here making this comment, because I see it there. But she brought up some very good points about plaza versus meeting room and all that for y'all to take into consideration. So again, I'm visual, so I would like to see if it's going to be a plaque. For sure, we do not want a neon sign, inside of a library, no matter how much money is donated. And so those were my comments, and I do have some questions as far as what it's going to look like. Thank you.
Great comments. Thank you so much. It's good to see you. Third, we have Leticia Sanchez. Welcome, Ms. Sanchez.
Hi, I'm Leticia Sanchez. I'm the co-chairperson of the Historic Westside Residents Association and also a member of the Friends of Bazan Library. I have a question about the criteria of the funds. So are the funds dependent? Is HEB saying we will give the funds per you naming what we're contributing to? Or are they giving the funds freely? My assumption is that they have made a donation. My fellow resident association and neighborhood association members are very, very frustrated with HEB because we have tried to get them to come out to our neighborhood to enlarge their space. The net large name, also we have the question of, if it's a net large name, also we have the question of, if it's we will accept a plaque by the wall, next to the wall of the area, the plaza, if it is a plaza, or I thought it was going to be an enclosed space. So no objections to giving them credit for that, but to have I don't know what the font size would be or what it is, how large it would be. I think that the people who are here representing their neighborhood associations from the West Side would object to something like that. We have a lot of objections to what HEB or how we've been ignored by HEB in our community, and $135,000 is not something that we will be bought off for. So we appreciate that your time to listen to us, and we have a lot of other options for names that we would prefer that you consider. Once again, a small plaque giving recognition to the donation is not, is fine with us. But thank you for your time.
As Dale mentioned, if there's anyone else that would like to give any comments to the committee, if you're not signed up, please feel free to do so. Is there anybody else that's in attendance that would like to make any comments? Okay. Then we'll read the comment that was submitted.
I've got a comment since we've been,
If you're going to make comments, you can come up and
sign.
I didn't have
Since we've been discussing this, it becomes apparent that we don't know what size this sign is going to be. And I think we, the people from the libraries, feel like it shouldn't be a big sign, because after all, it is a library. And the sign, do you all know what kind of sign that they are implying they want? Paul?
Well, not on the facilities committee that would be handling that in the future. I don't know if there's been any discussions on that. So the purpose of this meeting is on the naming of it. Once naming has been determined, then there's a whole other series of process that goes on. with
Well, I think that we're concerned, and I agree with her. We don't want it to be a huge sign. Yes, it's a nice gesture, but we all buy food from them. And so we don't want a huge sign. Acknowledgement is one thing. Promoting.
Advertising.
Yes, advertising is not in the realm of what we would think is appropriate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So as you know, on the posting of the meeting, you can make public comments by coming to the meeting, by recording a voice message, or by leaving a written comment. And one person chose to leave a written comment, which what we do is always read those comments aloud to whoever's here at the meeting. So I will do that. And my apologies, I can only see out of one eye, so I have to hold this I'm sorry, I have to hold it a certain way. So there is one written comment. It is from Christian Trescendis. I understand naming public spaces with business names is a safe option to ensure future donations, but Las Palmas Library deserves special recognition of community groups who historically supported the development of literacy through grassroots advocacy and education. Quote, from the late 1960s through the 90s, a group of remarkable women from Our Lady of Good Counsel Catholic Church was part of the Guadalupanes Society, a religious association organized by Mexican American Catholic women to provide leadership in social concerns and perform works of charity. These women learned and applied new leadership and organizational skills. Many participated in the grassroots group Communities Organized for Public Service, or COPS. Members of Guadalupanes became members of Los Padrinos of Las Palmas Library and were active and instrumental in helping the new library become a reality through their work on the Library Literacy Center bond passed in 1989 and by fundraising one raffle ticket and bake sale at a time, end quote. This community-based organization deserves to be recognized by the board and formally nominated alongside HEB, who recently provided funding. Please consider adding the Guadalupanes Society to this naming opportunity and give the women of this community the recognition they have long deserved. Read Velma Pena's October 26, 2021 Express News article for more details. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So we have people that signed up. We've got some the written comments that were submitted. There's nothing, they're not submitted any other way. Last chance for anyone to give any other comments? Dale's gonna explain the rest of the process.
So what comes next after this is that the naming committee will meet and they will make a decision about this name and actually two other names that are not associated with Las Palmas, but with the Texana project at the Central Library. And those will be on the agenda at the Library Board of Trustees August meeting. So not the July meeting, which is coming up it's this week. So it's not going to be the July meeting, but at the August meeting. So again, this was a fundraising opportunity. The board voted to make it available, and then HEB provided this gift. The minimum donation for the name was $100,000, and the donation they gave was $250,000. So that's what the donation was. And we don't normally have a dialogue because the point really is for the trustees to hear, if there are objections. So I just want to be clear. Like it always feels a little, unsatisfying because you have questions and we don't really have answers. And that's because no action has yet been taken to name the space. So signage is not designed and so on. So I just want to acknowledge that it feels a little like, wait, but what? And that's because there isn't a name yet. The policy does say that the library director has the final decision on the signage. The Board of Trustees have the final decision on the name. So those two things, but of course the comments you all have made are important and will be noted as well. We have one other corporate name in the San Antonio Public Library, which is the children's area at the Schaefer Branch Library. So the sign there is not particularly large. It does have the logo of, I believe it's Valero. Yes, it's Valero Foundation, I think. So, but it is, appropriate to the size of the gift. Certainly, it's not going to be neon. I mean, I can't answer a lot of questions, but I could say emphatically it will not be neon. For one thing, maintaining neon signs, which I have had in the three of the 4 libraries I've worked in, have had at least one neon sign. They are a pain. So it's definitely not going to be neon. Mark will be happy to hear that. No neon. So the only neon we have, I believe, and Mark will correct me if I'm wrong, is when you come into the Central Library, there's some blue neon. That is not a sign. That is art. Right? The artist believed it was art, so we got all these art and culture people in here. Let me try that again. Erase that. Erase what I just said. Erase the tone. As you walk into the Central Library, you walk through this beautiful piece of art that involves some blue neon light. But we don't have any neon sign. Was that better? Yes. They didn't give me a big frown, but it was a little frown. So I think what we have now is we need to wait, I think, until the posted starting time of the art meeting. Everyone kind of agree with that? I know it gives us a little time, but...
If we have a little bit of time, could I ask a few more questions?
If they're not related to the
Not
name,
related to naming.
no.
Okay.
I mean, you can, because you use your time, so what we have to be cautious about, and this is a whole point of procedure, right, is that we're fair and we do the same thing for every meeting. You can talk to me privately, that's fine, but privately means privately 2 or 3 people. If the whole audience gathers around, then that's a meeting. So, and of course, talking to me is a little different from talking to the members of the naming committee who will actually make the recommendation. So the staff do not make the recommendation to the board, and the staff do not make the decision about the naming. That is 100% the decision of the trustees. So we'll just, yes, sir?
Just a question, the naming committee, is anyone a resident from this neighborhood? From
No.
Las Palmas?
No.
I think you should have a representative from Las
Well,
Palmas.
there is a trustee on the board of trustees who, the naming committee is in place for all the namings, whatever district they're in. So like for example, the facilities committee has members who have projects in their district, but the board chair appoints the naming committee and they just stay in place. So they don't change for the different naming opportunities. Okay, so I don't know what time it is right now because I'm not looking. 6:06. So we'll regather for I see that. We'll regather for the 6:30 meeting if you're wanting to come for that. Yes, sir.
Is it against your board rules to have ad hoc members of the naming committee? And if it's not, why don't you just appoint an ad hoc member from that area?
As far as governance, this is a public meeting of the naming committee to hear objections to the name proposed.
I understand.
Governance of the board of trustees, I can't really, I can hear it as a suggestion, I just can't respond to it.
I understand.
That's what I have to be clear about, I can't
But
respond
you
to
can take
that.
it back, so thank you.
Sure, well, the trustees are hearing, would be for the trustees to decide on their governance, not for the staff.
Let me interject. Being a past neighborhood president, I understand how this can feel sometimes and how things can be perceived.
Can you speak up, please?
Having been a previous neighborhood president, I can understand how sometimes these meetings can be seen or perceived, or how the processes of boards and city council take place. I want to assure you, and your comments are both, well taken. If you have comments that you would like to be heard by somebody, now we're having a meeting here to receive those comments. I'm not going to put anybody on the spot. I've already asked a couple times if anyone else wants to speak, and you still have that option. But if you do have comments that you want to get to the representative from the district, you can always email that representative, and you should if you have them. I mean, that's just the way it works, right? So please do. In terms of suggesting, ad hoc committee members be from the district where the particular naming is taking place. I was previous naming committee chair, and we've had four or five namings. It really hadn't been a concern. It's not like we're going to make some level of a recommendation eventually to the board, and the board still has to vote on it. Whatever we say doesn't go. What the board says goes. And that process will be posted, and you'll know on the agenda when we're going to talk about it. And in advance and in preparation for that, should you have still comments that you want to leave with whoever your board representative on the library board is, or other representatives, I mean, as citizens, you're free to communicate all that. So please, I don't want anyone to take the fact that we're not going to accept, we don't have someone from District 5 on this committee to have some level of suspicion that those opinions aren't going to be heard. Am I making sense? Well, hopefully I'm making sense.
But does that district representative have more power then? Like, is there more weight given to the District 5 representative, or are they just one of 11? And therefore,
That's
does it
a
matter?
personal, that's a question
No, it's
related
just
to.
that I've been at
I
meetings,
hear you.
and then they say, oh, you have 50 people there, so they listen to the one voice that's against it and everybody else is in favor, or vice versa. And it's like, if we have too many people, it works against us. If we don't have enough people, it works against us. So,
When I said, when I was mentioning personal, I mean, that's more of a
I am
personal.
sorry, I'm guessing, yeah, let's not just.
I'm referring to that's more of a question related to how a representative chooses to be a representative. And me, in the past, I absolutely give more weight to the representative from the district that the event is taking place in, right? So, but that's what. Are there any other people that would like to make comments before I close the meeting?
So I see it's a proposed name, HB Plaza in Las Palmas. Okay, so I get the HB donated their money, right, to make a better library for Las Palmas. Why can't they just, and by the naming of the library, I think it should just be women's and children's, and just focus on the women and children, because, you know, that there's a lot of women and children that need, you know, recommendations, you know, about, like in general, everywhere, you know, because without the women and children, you know, like we wouldn't be here, or, you know, if I'm not making any sense, but, you know, I think that HEB should focus more, like with other libraries too, to help fix them, and well, not to fix them, but like to give them more money for funding for more books and learning opportunities for women and children.
Thank you. When the meeting ends, if you could please leave your name here on the list. Okay. Great. All right, I'm going to go and close this meeting. We can have some refreshments and wait for the next meeting to start in just a little bit. Thank you all very much.
Hi everyone, my name is Jordan Petrius and I am with the Department of Arts and Culture, and I'm the project manager for the Cassiano Park project. And while y'all are waiting for the public art portion to start, we do have Tony Forsage with Parks and Desiree Salmon with Public Works that are going to give a very, very brief update on the park.
Good evening. My name is Desiree Salmon. I'm with Public Works. I'm Assistant Capital Programs Manager, and I'm managing the Cassiano Park 2022 bond project. Thanks for letting us sneak in here. This is Tony Forsage from Parks and Recreation. He's kind of the liaison for parks and managing projects. We're working together on Cassiano Park. So we're here for two reasons. The first is to give you an update on the bond project, and the second is to ask you for some help. We need some help with gathering cultural information. We need some help with photos, stories of the park, of the pool. So first, let's get to the update of the 2022 bond project. We're in design. We're about to wrap up design of the bond project. The project received $3.75 million from the bond. The bond language, which is kind of our guiding scope, is to construct general park improvements within available funding, which may include pool house improvements, a new aquatic amenity, and playground. We've brought a plan for you to look at. I think you can see it. You're welcome to walk up to it at some point, even after the meeting. Jordan will leave it with you. But you'll see we're taking out the existing bathhouse. We're replacing it with a brand new one. It'll have two building masses. One will be a mechanical building, and the other will be a lifeguard office, IT room, family restrooms, and a men's and women's restroom. We'll get a new pool. We're going to keep a bit of the shell, the lower shell.
With the pool cabana, you might want to elaborate about the showers.
Yes.
And changing accommodations.
Yeah. So let me run through the whole thing, and then I'll get to the details. No, that's okay. And then a new pool. You can see that it's an L-shaped pool. It'll have a shallow entry, and then it'll get into a deeper area. We're planning a slide. We may be able to include the climbing wall. We're looking at costs right now as we wrap up the design. And then finally, the ending touches are a splash pad feature. Splash pad, I can't see the plans, but it's kind of at the end of the restroom building. The restroom, there you go. Thank you.
And that's being funded by a grant that we received through the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, administered by the National Park Service. So we were really thrilled to get that, and a lot of the folks in here tonight, Graciela, sisters here, they helped us get that grant. So kudos to y'all for helping us do
How
that.
much was the total on that grant?
1.5 million.
So that helps bring it all together to create kind of an aquatics facility. Yes, ma'am.
Because we have a weird situation here at Memorial with just 2 bathrooms, how many bathrooms are you including with this project?
And we're always waiting in line, right?
So the restroom, I'm not looking at it, but I believe it's for the women's 2 stalls and a changing area. Is that what we have?
Is there a way we could all spend time looking at it, because and you don't have any PowerPoint?
Can you all still add another bathroom or 2, especially on the women's side?
And then we have a family restroom on the park side with a door, which will be a larger space, and then one of those will have like an adult, what we call an adult changing table. It'll pop down from the wall for anyone that needs that. I think we're at the code required restrooms, and we're really fitting them in there. I'm not sure we can include any more toilets or stalls.
But it is an improvement for the existing facilities, for sure.
But you look at your house, and you probably have more than 1 bathroom, and there's just maybe under 5 people. And yet you want to have a public area with 2 bathrooms, especially on the women's side. I wish that y'all would realize how essential bathrooms are.
I can say this on behalf of Desiree, who's been managing the project on behalf of Parks. It's a partnership. She's been very diligent in managing the budget as effectively as she can. We want to bring the community a first-class pool with the beach entry, which was requested. Changing rooms and showers were requested. So we have to balance the need for multiple toilets with all of the other amenities that were prioritized by the community.
And the space. I mean, there's only a certain amount of space that we can put the new bathhouse into.
How many restrooms are there currently?
For women, I think there's 3.
There's 2 in the cabana.
There's not in the floor plan. I should have brought a floor plan.
There's 3 right now. 2 bathrooms, the bathrooms with the showers.
Yeah.
2 bathrooms.
I'm going off memory. Men's, there's a urinal, 2 stalls,
I think that's right.
2 stalls.
And then women's, I think.
Women's, there's 3 stalls.
And then then separately, we have the family restroom, where you could go in with a sibling, or your daughter, or your granddaughter, grandson, and have a changing station as well as toilet facilities.
Yes.
And you said showers too?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. Okay, so why are you using renovation here?
Because of the grant, the national, we didn't expect this, but the National Park Service got back to Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, and they wanted us to make clear what was brand new and what was renovation. Well, so the renovation language actually helped our grant. That's all it is, because we're not going to demolish that existing shell. We're building on top of it, which is a good thing, because we're not having to spend money to demolish it, spend money to haul it off. And then just from an ecological standpoint, it doesn't make sense to haul that off to a dump. And so we actually kind of made some points with the National Park Service with that language, but it's a brand new pool.
It's gonna be new.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, this plan doesn't show,
Yeah,
this is where the
doesn't show much,
restrooms will be. So on the park side, we're looking at 2 family restrooms. One will be finished out, the other may just be a shell because of funding. And then for the pool side, it will be a women's restroom, and then a men's restroom, and by that I mean multiple stalls. This building here is a mechanical building, so we can access it, for equipment delivery and everything. And this is also where a lot of the pool, or the splash pad equipment will be.
She's got a family
So the second part of this meeting is to request photos and stories of the park. You'll see in the survey, the hard copy survey, there's a question, several questions about, do you have any stories of the park? Well, we're kind of asking for the same thing. We have in the design a plaza that we're calling a cultural plaza, and we'd like to kind of look at some interpretive signage or that tells the story of the park and the pool and the neighborhood. And we are putting out a call for photos and stories. And so I have a flyer. It looks like this. There's some out on the table. I'm going to leave some of these at the pool. I'm also going to leave a clear bin with some Ziploc baggies. Take one of those. Yes. Take that home, bring some photos back, drop it off at the pool. We'll come get it. We'll scan it gently and return it wherever you want it returned. You can also do this, drop photos off at the district field office. Either way, but we promise to treat them gently and then return them to you wherever you want them returned. Stories and photos, and we really need your help.
Have y'all used your resource, the Texana department, for photos?
Yeah, right now, just in looking on the web, I need to find someone there because their facility is closed because they're moving, right?
Talk to Sylvia Rayner.
Okay. And, yeah, we'll use that resource too.
I thought the conversation was gonna be about public art.
Yes, that will be,
At 6:30.
At 6:30.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
We just wanted to take this opportunity to update, because we had everybody here, so we thought it'd be a nice opportunity for a 5 or 10 minute update.
Desiree, my sister said she had sent Melinda.
Oh, I don't know
The assistant director, it's Melinda, right?
Yes.
We had sent her some photos way back when we started talking to them, like in December.
I was in June of 23.
So can you ask her about them?
Yes, I
Okay.
see Linda all the time, so
Okay.
definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting us kind of slip in here. We appreciate it. Thank you. Good evening. We will get started at 6:30 for the public art component for the Las Palmas Branch Library. So we have a little bit of time if you need a restroom break. We have refreshments outside you're welcome to, and then we'll get started at 6:30. Thank you.
It would be nice too if we could start off setting apart, if we would remember who's the cultural president with the aquatic facility, because maybe the artist could do something for the Plaza. It's gonna be basically around the splash pad, so it'll be at the aquatics compound, but outside the pool, so it'll be publicly accessible year round.
A year ago, we talked to you, we talked about, and he's dead, but his nephew, great nephew, is going I remember how she shows, how Natalie shows a photo of them in an umbrella, like that's the image, right? More elaborate, but it's like, how can well, I already talked to so like many people, not anybody in there.
No, it was done, like maybe 10 years ago.
Where they play all.
Yeah, and it has a figure of one of the it's no longer with us. And so now we have a rapid player, and they've kind of adapted that. And so we never like to do that unless it's a community outside. Because it gets in the way of their but they can help people, like, they can help it's not bad.
They're trying to take that over decorating rather than.
So I wouldn't, if your job is exactly what it means, respectful that people say.
That's all. Benches, people need to sit, they have to go whatever.
Now it's actually curious if you guys had any. Because I know it was done before I was here, and so I'm just trying to see if everybody's in community. Oh, yeah. It was a real deal. I mean, not off the top of my head. I think it was like 2010, 2020. And that's what we do usually with our pieces. And murals, especially, you know, they like to do that. So we should definitely sometimes don't like that. But we also we want to make sure it's not just one person. We want to make sure it's like I'm not a racquetball player, so I don't know. Okay, but I'll see what information Jordan decides. I'll get it from Jordan. I'll get it from her, but I just wanted to see if you had anything. He was like right away. Our process. Any other, things about it or anything. But I just wanted to see if you had I want to make sure that. Well, if you hear from anybody, my
And then you and I would be
Good evening, everyone. I know y'all are still finishing up some conversations, but would you like to get started with the public art portion? Okay.
Did you have a sign in for a speak?
No, you can just come up. Yeah. So, yes. For any folks that came in a little bit late, we do have some translation services, and so I will hand that over.
Buenas tardes. Para quienes requieran de interpretación al español, estamos aquí para servirle. Tenemos el equipo allá atrás. Gracias.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jordan Petrius, and I am the lead public art project manager with the City of San Antonio's Department of Arts and Culture.
Renee Telemontes, Public Art Project Manager.
So we are going to have a beginning set of slides that we are going to present together, Renee and I, and then we will go into our individual projects. And so I will be managing Castellano Park, so you'll hear from me at the beginning and then not again until the end, and then Renee is managing the Las Palmas project. So to get us started, we are the Department of Arts and Culture, and with oversight from our San Antonio Arts Commission and its committees, the department enriches the quality of life in San Antonio by leading and investing in arts and culture through initiatives including the core grants, the cultural events and exhibits, public art, which is who we are, and the San Antonio Film Commission. So just to give y'all a little bit of background on what public art is that is managed by the city, because there's a number of different public art organizations out there, we seek to open the landscape to diverse voices and narratives to create engaging public art for San Antonio and its residents. And we do this by going through a community engagement process in which we come out to the public and to stakeholders to help inform who the art, where the art will be located, the design, themes, and inspirations, and who the artist will be. Keeping in mind artist, we do seek to work with a professional artist, and we define that as someone who is over the age of 18 and can legally contract, obtain insurance, and be financially compensated for their skill and time. We do know that there is an interest in youth, and so we do ask for youth involvement through our community engagement, such as meetings like this and future meetings to come, and any community days if applicable. So we develop projects that are from artists and they're unique. They can't be bought off the shelf or from a store. And we get approval from our San Antonio Arts Commission and its Public Art Committee. And it's managed by a project manager like myself and Renee. And it's usually paid for with public funds, and these projects are paid for with the bond program. And I will now hand it over to Renee.
Great. Thank you. So all public art projects that are managed by the City of San Antonio's Department of Arts and Cultures follows our public art process. And this includes 6 major milestones, 5 of which are indicated with these black arrows here, and is where we check in with the community and our stakeholders for any updates or feedback. So you can see we do this from beginning to end of our projects. Any of the milestones that you see the asterisk next to indicate that they require approval from our Public Art Committee and the San Antonio Arts Commission in order for that project to move forward. On average, a project takes about 24 months from start to finish here. And we'll jump into Las Palmas Public Art. So we are at the beginning stages of our project for Las Palmas Library Public Art. So we're here today, of course, to gather feedback and input from you all, specifically about the theme, and also to see what you want in the artwork for this project. This public art opportunity is part of the 2022 bond program. So it was specifically chosen by the community for a public art project. Public Works is managing the design and construction of the renovation of the facility, which I know you all are very aware of. And that renovation includes that expansion to create that new community room that was discussed earlier here at the front of the building, which you can see in the rendering here. And we really see this as a great opportunity for sculptural artwork that will enhance the building and the exterior here with this renovation. So we have worked with the architects and the library team to identify the best location for the artwork, and we'll continue to work with them as we design the artwork to ensure that it is seamless with the design and the renovations, and it feels integral to the renovations of the building. And should there be any adjustments to the design down the road, we'll make sure we partner with the architects through that whole design process. Here on the right, you can see a plan view of the new expansion, and then on the photo on the left shows the current conditions of the entry courtyard. And this is that area that will be enclosed with the glass walls, creating that new community room. And after scoping several locations with the library and the architects, we are recommending this area that's highlighted in pink as the opportunity for sculptural artwork, with the potential to include the columns, which are highlighted in this teal color here. We feel that this location makes the biggest impact for visitors, not only to those who are visiting the library and the facility, but also those inside this new community center will be able to see the artwork from inside and even from the street and all those that are passing along in front of the library here. As I mentioned, we've been working with the library and architects on this. We'll continue to work on with them through our design process so that this design feels seamless and intentional for the building. And we also want to make sure that we are touching base with you all and our stakeholders so as we make progress through our design. So again, Las Palmas is a great opportunity for a new public art project. This area was included in a larger West Side Strategic Area Study where the community has asked for improvements to this area. So it's a great location for public art. There's lots of history, and it's important to the community, and it's a really high visibility area. So we're excited to give this area, District 5, a little love with some public art. So today we're here to get your input on what you want the artwork to look like, and more specifically, what theme you want the artist to consider. So we have 4 themes that we'll discuss today, and you'll see them if you have a survey in front of you, a paper survey, you'll see those themes in that first question there. So we're going to go through each of these themes and look at some examples of how an artist may interpret that theme. And then we'll have some time. I'll quickly go over the schedule. Then we'll have some time for discussion. And if you prefer to fill out the survey electronically, there is a QR code on this flyer here if you would prefer to scan and do it on your phone, or there's the Essay Speak Up link if you'd rather do it on your home computer too. So, but we will be accepting the paper surveys this evening.
People transfer the paper surveys onto, that's my only concern.
We'll do that.
But how do we know you did it?
We just don't trust the city anymore.
You don't. I know.
I do them personally, yeah. So we'll take a look at these themes now. So again, these are examples of how this theme may be interpreted. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, before you continue,
Yeah.
you're saying a sculpture?
Yes, something sculptural. We don't know we don't have an artist on board yet, so we'd like to give the artists as much freedom as possible in their design, but we know that it will be in that area there at the front. It could possibly incorporate the columns. So these themes and what we're looking at today are just some examples of what other artists have interpreted a similar theme to be. Yeah. So our first theme is Tall Tales, recalling oral stories, legends, and folklore. So here we see two examples of how an artist may interpret that theme. On the left, we have a bronze sculpture titled Storyteller by Scott Stearman, and this is in front of a library in Bethany, Oklahoma. So this whimsical sculpture depicts a scene of a storyteller and a young girl listening closely as the storyteller shares knowledge from some of the great books of our time. And if you look closely, he's sitting on a stack of those great books there.
In theme A, could you, since it's a bilingual city and it doesn't have to be all in English and all in Spanish, but like if I wanted a certain type of artist, I would say, you know, cuentos, leyendas, folklore, something like that, and mix it up rather than, because otherwise, and then I see an image of Alice in Wonderland or whatever, then it just, you know, versus if I think, oh, I can also broaden and I can think of, that, you know, the Chusa and whatever.
Yes, yes.
Not that we want the Chusa there. Like little enough. But it lets people think broader than just. But, no, the pieces are beautiful. I'm not saying that, but just to, you know, just wording, it just makes people think.
So if there's any comments, like if you want the artist to consider bilingual, I would definitely
No, I'm
recommend.
saying that the city, instead of saying tall tales, it just feels very white.
Oh, we have a bilingual survey.
No, I'm not
There's
saying
a Spanish
that.
version.
Like Las Palmas Library artwork theme examples, that's in Spanish and that's in English, right? Las Palmas is a phrase in Spanish. We take it for granted. Tall tales, what is another word for tall tales?
Oh, cuentos?
Right, cuentos, right? So you could say cuentos, recalling oral stories, legends, and quests. So it's all within, so that I, as an artist, can say, oh, okay, I don't have to think. Right. That's
So
what I'm
that's the
asking.
theme, you're changing from tall tales to cuentos.
Yeah, just to kind of think about that as a city, so when the artists are taking it in, they also think that way.
Okay.
What we're saying is that when we present this to the community, and especially since it's a Latino community, we would like, you know, our words in there, like, because it's a Latino community.
Community, but it's also, the city of San Antonio is pretty much Latino based, you know? So, in San Antonio, you know?
Can we see what else you got?
Yes, yeah. So if y'all could, we'll have time for discussion after we roll through all these things. And I will say we are still live streaming, so I know we would really appreciate it. Any comments, if you could speak into the microphone so everyone can hear. So our next example of this theme on the right is an image of a steel sculpture, and this is actually in the United Kingdom by artist Marjan Wuda. This sculpture is titled Dandy, and it reflects the region's history and folklore, and more specifically inspired by the region's folktale of a black dog who offered help to townspeople accused of witchcraft in 1612. So that's one example of how that artist took that theme of folklore and legends and created the artwork around that. So again, these are examples of artwork based around a theme that's similar to what we're as an option for Las Palmas. Our next theme is History and Treasures of the West Side, and we're looking at two examples from San Antonio artists who incorporated specific themes and ideas around their area and the culture of the area. So on the left we have Nostalgia, Texas by Gary Sweeney. This may be familiar to you if you've been to the International Airport, San Antonio International Airport recently. Nostalgia, Texas is a series of 8 porcelain enamel signs that resemble nostalgic luggage labels and they poke gentle fun at San Antonio and South Texas. So his panels are about travel and nostalgia, family vacations, and they have images noting the small town but big city that is San Antonio. He has some panels about the hill country surrounding San Antonio, Texas heat, the hemisphere of 68, and one even about the nonstop party atmosphere of Fiesta. The right is Music in the City by Raul Rene Gonzalez, which can be found in City Hall. And this is a series of paintings which highlight San Antonio's historical and diversified musical landscape, specifically recognizing Tejano and conjunto, jazz, and heavy metal culture. Each genre of music has played an important role in San Antonio's history, culture, and identity throughout the 20th and 21st century. So within each of the panels, there's placed some of the people who have made contributions to each genre of music at the local, state, national, and even global level. So again, these are examples of artwork with a similar theme that we see there. Our next theme is Las Palmas, our Canary Island sister city, and its lasting impact on San Antonio. And these two artworks here are examples of how an artist has interpreted the theme of local legacy and ancestry. So here on the left is a Sarah Cunningham Bell's The Bridge, which is in Dublin, Ireland. This is a steel sculpture that comprises two figures with arms raised up, holding a mirrored steel river rug that is threaded through with symbols and signs of Dublin life. The sculpture draws from local history, which also reflects present-day community. And within the steel, there are cutouts that include a number of historical references from designs of importance to areas like a 9th century grave marker. There's a reference to commemorative artwork by a local artist marking the anniversary of the Easter Rising. There's also images of figures in history, and even writings from early medieval alphabet. It bridges this history with figures and symbols of current, what they call unsung heroes of everyday life. For example, wives, mothers, grandparents, community activists, and care workers. What they call, or they say, people who symbolizes the invaluable work that enriches our homes and neighborhood. On the left here is Tim Upham's Family Trees. This is located at a senior living center in Memphis, Tennessee. These 5 trees are created with stainless steel, and there are over 50 yellow and green leaves on the branches here. This work represents the residents' desire to honor the connections that many of the longstanding community members feel for their neighborhood. So it's to reflect the feeling of one big family. This collection of trees represents ancestry and lineage for the residents of the community. And our last theme is Imagine It, Adventure, Exploration, and Discovery. And here we have 2 examples of public art at libraries here in Texas. On the left is Books of a Feather by Dixie Friend. This is in Houston, Texas. And this artwork features 3 stainless steel and concrete birds that are covered in multicolored glass and ceramic tile. The ceramic tiles, if you look at the detail here, they're stamped with book titles that include works associated with birds and flight. The works draw parallel between the physical flight of birds and the flight of imagination found in books. The artist states, "The free movement of birds stretches our imagination towards a world that exists beyond our vision, just as explorations in the library open our minds to new and unfamiliar views." On the right is Discovery by artist Will Larson. This is in Austin, Texas. And this is a series of carved limestone sculptures which extends from the main entrance of the library around to the back of the building and culminates in a group of 5 massive cut stones. Steel plates cut with images of the landscape and community are attached to selected stones. And the artist states, the intention was to lead the viewer on a path of exploration to a point of discovery. So again, these are how artists interpreted a similar theme of adventure, discovery, and imagination. So a quick look at our schedule for the Las Palmas Public Art Project. The community engagement survey is currently open. You have one in front of you there, and it will close on August 2nd. So we have about a couple weeks left here. We'll then move into artist selection to be completed this fall, which will include an artist selection panel that's made up of stakeholders and community members. Prior to starting any design, we'll schedule an artist meet and greet and invite stakeholders and the community to get to know the artist a little bit. That also gives the artist an opportunity to get to know you all and ask questions and dive a little deeper into what you all want to see in the design. Design should be completed by the end of summer of 2025. We'll give the community an opportunity to review the design at a couple key points in that process. That's at the concept design phase, and then again at the final design phase. And then finally, fabrication and installation will wrap up in early 2026. So now I would love to hear from you all, now that you've had a chance to kind of get an idea of what these themes could potentially look like or how they could be interpreted. If you have any thoughts on the themes or what you would really want to see in the artwork at Las Palmas Library. Again, if you could use the microphone, that would greatly help those who are on streaming or in our recording as well. So you're welcome to come to the microphone. We have some prompts here too, if those help strike any thoughts. Yes, go ahead.
Linda Orange, a couple of us met and we were talking more about this area is known for ironwork, it's known for papeleros, it's known for stuff from Dia de los Muertos. I don't see any of that in this. I think it needs to be someone in the area who has a feel and a love and has grown up with a lot of this stuff. I didn't really see anything that says local. We do pottery, we do sarapes. There's so much that could be incorporated into this instead of, this is very, some of it is even European, some of your examples.
So these are examples
we are very different. What makes this area wonderful and exciting is its culture. It's very rich in history. It's like sombreros. You gotta have all of that included in this. And are you talking about just one artist?
For this project, it will be one artist, yes.
How many art projects are you going to allow? Just one?
It could be multiple piees that are part of the artwork. We'll let the artists look at the space.
Because we can certainly do different pieces of pots, different shapes of pottery pots. I thought the idea, everything is different for us.
So with history and treasures, you mentioned a few things, but is there anything else you would want to see specifically that is a treasure or part of the history you want to see in the artwork?
To me, when I come in this area and you see all the yards with these beautiful rose bushes and flowers. Colors.
Yes. Okay.
I don't think that we want bronze. Bronze is not part of it.
Nothing like that sculpture on Commerce and 21st Street.
Right. So we need to look at some local people. I was talking to Terry Ibanez because she's an artist and she knows a lot of the young artists who work in this area, and perhaps she could be a consultant. You all have not really said who's on this committee and who's making these decisions. Every time you all tell us we're going to do this, it's like August the 2nd is the deadline. You know? Or it's like, we already did that part of it and we're moving on. What do y'all think? But we don't want you to tell us what we think. we want you to listen to what we're thinking.
Yes, that's why we're here today.
So, I don't know about anybody else, but I think flowers, zarabes, pottery, the papelero stuff, because that's just fiesta, and that's what we're about.
Great.
We're happy people. We're proud people.
Write it down on your survey.
Yes, write it down on your survey.
Right?
We'll take you. We're taking notes
Write
too.
it down on your survey.
Hello, my name is Jasmine Herrera. I'm a resident here in District 5. I live by Buena Vista and Cesar Chavez. So I would like to see history and treasures of the West Side because I would like to know more about the area that I live in. I would also want my children to know more about it. There's a lot that I don't know, and it's very interesting and very beautiful. And I love my West Side, and I would really like to see the youth. You said that you want the youth to be involved in the art. Why don't we get local youth and local artists that are here from San Antonio? I would like to see that a lot because we have people from different places that don't know a lot about the area, and I would like someone from the area and also colors. Colors would be nice.
Okay.
In history, so I would like that. Thank you.
I have a question. Delia Ramirez Trimble from Friends of Las Palmas Library. I just had a question on, you mentioned a committee, and how will that, you said from members of the community would comprise the,
yes. So
how is that going to be
if you're
selected?
interested in being on the committee, so we reach out to anyone who's expressed interest. We'll look at who'd be a good fit for the panel. I think Friends of Las Palmas is certainly on my list.
Yay.
But if anyone is interested in being on that artist selection committee, please let me know.
Okay.
And that also includes, a representative from our Public Art Committee and our Arts Commission, the D5 representative from our San Antonio Arts Commission, and then who else am I thinking of? The library board member from D5. But if anyone's would really love to be a part of that, we're open to including more. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
How would we make those recommendations?
You can contact me directly, or if you put it on if you have the write-in survey, you can make a note on there. And I'll see that. And if you include your contact information on the survey, we'll make sure to keep you updated as we move through the project. When artist selections are happening and through design, through the design phase as well. Yes, Velma.
Velma Pena with president of the Westwood Square Neighborhood Association, and I'm also, in favor of the oral history and treasures of the West Side. Something that Linda said, colors. I know we've met before too as a group and discussed this. I don't have an idea as to exactly what, but we would like to see a lot of color. I think that it just represents to me happiness. Like when you see color, looks good, something that you want to look at, especially when it's going to be shown right off of Castro Road, right? And so we talked about papel picado, those are things. But again, we did not mention the exact object or sculpture or anything like that. I'm sure we don't want, iron, copper, what is it? The one that y'all showed?
The bronze.
The bronze.
Okay, no bronze, got it.
We don't want something like that.
Okay.
I think it doesn't represent us, And so, again, I know, it's going to take a little bit of time, but I just want to make sure that, also that, because people like to take pictures nowadays, right? They want to have an area where, they like to take selfies with this artwork that's there being represented, so that's another thing to take into consideration. I don't know how tall it'll be, or you did mention about that the artist could, put maybe 3 different, that they go together, right? But they're separate. That's another idea that's really good too. And so anyways, I just wanted to make a point about colorful, we did talk about papel picado and tiles and things like that, of that nature. Thank you.
Was there anything specific that you would want to be represented in those? And do you want to, I know we looked at some realistic things and some more abstract things. Was there any discussion about what you were looking at in that sense?
We would probably have to meet again and then send it to you. Just to be sure, like, because we did meet and we did have a discussion, but we didn't actually say exactly, what the object or the sculpture or anything would be, the artwork would be. We just talked about colors and the textiles or, things like that, of that nature. I know Linda mentioned, sarape or hats or something like that. I don't know. I mean, it's just hard to, think exactly what would be the right thing to put there. That's why I'm kind of being really careful. But I do know we want colors, and to represent, the area.
The area,
that we
great.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, just to expand on that, because I know that, when we met, we talked about the ironwork and papel picado, that idea of the ironwork with the different scenes in it. I think everybody has seen papel picado everywhere, and it's got different scenes, and we thought, a child reading a book in one of those little scenes, some other aspects of the West Side, some pictures, something with tradition, probably Day of the Dead, some representation in those different graphics. That would be something that could be different scenes.
Yeah.
So that was, again, one idea.
Great. Thank you.
Well, I would suggest to the community to kind of imagine, to learn, I mean, you already know, right? Who are the important people of this part of Las Palmas area that we would want to, because I love what you're all talking about, the ironwork, the papel picado. Carmen Lomas Garza is amazing, right? She's in California, but she's from South Texas. But, I've seen her work, so look up her work and that she's done that, and it looks like papel picado, but who are those people we would want? I've seen different things, but I think like who's inside of it is important. And I would also say, who are the mujeres? Because all of you all are mujeres. So maybe it's even putting yourselves in there. Because when this is, you all have been organizing and doing a lot of work for the community. So think about that, because sometimes then we just put the guy who was in World War II or World War I, and they're all dudes, right? Sorry. So kind of think about that, and not even the same ones, because it's like, well, Emma Tenayuca, or Lidia Mendoza. It's like, okay, ¿quién más? Who in that neighborhood? So that's all I'm asking you all to do, because I also support the All Around History and Treasures.
I'd like to add something to that.
Yes.
Graciela, thank you for saying that, because it opens up the ideas, right, when other people talk. And so the person that somebody submitted about the naming, though this has to do with the naming, right, that, because I did write an article about it, and they talked about los padrinos, right, and these were women that sold tickets to buy books, to buy computers. We have talked about this in the past, about they're never recognized. And you're right, there is women that are recognized, but here in the West Side, in the actual area there, like us that are leaders, a lot of us in here are women leaders that have been leaders for a long time. And some of us are very humble. We don't express that we want our names here, we want our names there, because we just do what we're passionate about, right? But I think that's a good idea to have the women that, we're still here. We hope to see that this project go through to 2026 when the actual installation is here, And so anyways, I just want to thank Graciela for bringing that up, because it's a very good point. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Any other comments before we turn it over to Cassiano? Yes. Linda.
Linda Orange, Las Palmas Branch.
Could you come a little closer so they can hear? Thank you.
I was just thinking while I was sitting here, as part of this, maybe we could use like a loteria card or a frame, because loterias are just our thing.
Yeah.
And that way we could include a few more items that we want, not as a whole art piece, but maybe in tile, and they could put new things, because it's not the Catrino anymore. You know, there are other things, a guitar, you know, just all sorts, because we like music. And it's hard to get all that into that. But if we do something like a loteria card, that, anyway.
Okay.
Just to add to that.
Thank you. So if you still have your paper surveys, if you want to write notes on that, but we're taking notes too, but if you want to document it on your survey, that would be great too. So, okay. Well, if there are no other comments, you're welcome to, I'll be here after if you want to discuss anything else. But I will turn it over to Jordan to talk about our other D5 project at Cassiano Park.
Right. Thank y'all so much, and I'm glad that y'all are sticking with us, but we knew that all of y'all were important for everything, so we're very glad that you are staying tuned. So again, my name is Jordan Petrius, and I am managing the Cassiano Park project. And very similar to Renee, this is a bond project. This is funded by the 2022 bond from the Parks proposition. And so there is an opportunity for one or more artworks, and there's a potential for a historical connection. And this is part of ongoing public works scope, which you saw, and we did leave the graphic up here. And that does include that new pool construction. So again, the scope that we're looking at for Cassiano Park is to install one or more public artworks. Some of the advantages of this project is it's very highly visible. I know some of you live right across the street, so you'll be able to see that. And it is recommended by parks, public works, and community stakeholders. Some of those include the Public Works Department, parks, City Council District 5, residents, visitors, nearby neighborhood associations, and then area businesses. So just to get a little bit more into it, why Cassiano Park? So it is a park with a very long and meaningful history, which you all know. It is highly visible for that neighborhood, and we really have an opportunity to honor the heritage and legacy of the park. And for those of you familiar, we have the interpretive signage here, and as Desiree mentioned, they're going to work on more of that. So, you know, keeping in mind this idea that I think maybe y'all will be interested is that history and heritage, but I can't wait to hear more. So we do want to install one or more of those projects, or one of those sculptures, and we, very similar to Renee, will be looking at 4 themes. But first, I also want to show some examples of artworks. So our first theme is honoring history, how the history of Cassiano Park has left a legacy on San Antonio. And so, of course, these are projects that are not at Cassiano Park, but are very similar. So we have this project right here by Chris Montoya, a local artist. That is on our office building at Plaza de Armas. And so we have the whole history right here. The stakeholders really wanted to see a gathering space, a meeting place, and you can see the Chili Queens and people gathering and meeting, and you can see this curtain coming back and really giving you a glimpse into history. We also have a piece by Carlos Cortez and Doroteo Garza called Nahoham. This is a faux bois or trabajo rustico piece, so it's concrete that is made to look like stone, and it has a monument, and it has a blue deer symbol, and the artist, Doroteo Garza, is an indigenous artist, and he was really looking to different cultures and history with this piece, and there's also some benches and some planters that go along with it as well. Also, 2 local artists. This is the next theme, local leaders and the impact community members have on San Antonio. So we have an artist team called Dos Mestis, and this is at the San Antonio International Airport in the CONRAC, or the Consolidated Rental Car Facility. So you can see a number of different figures here. We are zoomed in on some snips from the era of the Stinson flying. So looking at local leaders throughout the whole city and their impact. We also have Labor Plaza, and this was designed by the same landscape architect that is going to be designing the improvements for the park, Terra Design Group. And so this is a plaza called Labor Plaza. We worked with the local AFL-CIO, and we honored the local labor history. And so that was done in a number of ways. There was a poem that goes throughout this spiral walkway. There's sculptures that reference the labor unions. There's engravings of biographies of people. And then there are these tile mini murals that have different motifs. The next theme is the coming together, the legacy of Casiano Park as a meeting and gathering place. And so this is a piece that we just installed recently at Market Square by Eva Marengo Sanchez and Mike Comp Arguello called The Echoes of Market Square. And this is just a snippet of it. It was 8 different columns, and they're painted on each side, including the sides. So there's a number of different murals here, but I wanted to show this one as the coming together because, again, we have a chili queen. It's not a real person, and then we also have a recipe. And then the last example I have is not a local artist. It's not in San Antonio. It's in Pittsburgh, but it is called Gathering. And so here is a figurative example of people gathering, but it's also very abstract. And then the reason that I did show both murals and sculptures is right now we have the opportunity to do either, or we could do one, but one would have to be smaller than the other. But we do have the opportunity for that. So if you feel strongly about either, I am excited to hear your thoughts. Our last theme that we have is Casiano's Customs, a nod to culture and heritage that makes this park special to San Antonio. So this is by Ashley Garza and Haley Marmolejo at Historic Market Square at the Farmers Market. This is not the whole mural, but I did just want to provide snips and images. This one, from the conversation that we had from the last project, I think is good to note that this one was specific about women and their work at Market Square. So it really highlights that. It highlights folklore and tradition. We have the alebrijes, and we have constellations and different icons and food. So really looking at culture and heritage of that specific area. And then the last example I have is by Caldrick Dow called Spheres of Reflection. And this was at Martin Luther King Park, and the community engagement for that was they really wanted a reference to Martin Luther King without it being an image of him. And so what Caldrick did is he took different words that commonly appear in the different speeches, and you can see that in the hair. He was also very interested in showing representation of African Americans, and so he was interested in this idea of hair and identity and of African Americans being represented in a way that historically in museums they are not. So that was very specific to that park, but I wanted to show that because it was kind of a similar idea of culture and heritage as a theme. Again, all local artists. And then, so similar to Renee, we're here right now for community engagement. We would like to have the artist selection for this occur this summer, and then we would have design next summer, and then fabrication and installation in summer of 28-26, and that would be contingent on Public Works and Parks finishing their improvements. So, very similar. If y'all want to come up and share, or yeah, I'd love to hear.
Well, over a year ago, we, the Valdez sisters and myself were sitting with Tony and others from Parks Department, and we wrote letters of support. And while we were talking about it, we talked about the public art work, and I described, and I said, was there any work by Dionisio Rodriguez there? And nobody seemed to know who Dionisio was, so it's again the guy who does the Arte Rústico, right? He was from Mexico, but he lived on Guadalupe Street, right, by Ray's Drive-In. The building is, his house is gone, right? And yet when we think about him, we think of Breckenridge Park, Broadway Street, Alamo Heights, and yet he was our guy, you know, he was from our neighborhood. And so when I was talking, Natalie pulled out an image of herself and her friends in the 1970s, and it was an image that was Dionisio, and we were blown away, and it's the little, and so I don't know what the public art piece is, but I do think that I understand the way public art is, you know, as they're building those bathrooms, as they're building whatever, can the images, the art itself, the decorative part of those buildings, the benches, those things that make it feel historical, can we get Carlos Cortés and his artist friends embellish what's there with and honor the history of one of the people from that neighborhood, right? So there may be something else that's a sculpture or whatever you started to show, but also that this sort of work also highlights what's already there. The bathrooms, you showed the stones that are already there. So it keeps to that beauty. We even found an image of a tree house that the kids would love. And it doesn't only have to be at the Whitty. Our west side also could have a beautiful tree house. So there are images that I just saw when I was looking at Carlos Cortés's website. So things like that. So, and you all obviously know, because Capturing Nature and the other book on the, you know, there are two books that the public library has. Of course, they're in Forest Hills or wherever, not in the neighborhood. So ask your public library to incorporate books by him, but that's one of the things. So honoring history and local leaders, again, you've done great work in doing research on the history of Casiano. So, and I remember my great-grandmother, who was a Chile queen, when she was resting, they would come to Casiano Park, and they didn't just sell chile con carne, they sold hamburgers, okay? Like, my mom was a little girl in the 1920s, and she remembered saying she didn't want the Mexican food, she wanted hamburgers. So, but that they were there, and Emma Tenayuca and all the organizers, they organized there, so I want that sort of history to be there. And actually, there are no monuments to any of these amazing people, and so I'd love to see that. And I'm more in the, I'm not in the abstract art, you know. We barely see ourselves, and when we do, it's all negative, so it would be nice to see ourselves positively portrayed.
Thank you so much. I did have to just throw one out there just to give y'all an idea. Anything else that y'all would like to share?
I think that was a good idea.
Well, and it's one of the oldest parks in the city as well.
Yeah,
Yes, I have that great history thanks to Marianne, and we will be sure that the artist gets that. Yes.
You brought up a good idea about the monuments and the hands-on part, because we could do benches, more hands-on, and also little shade umbrellas, like she said. I think all that is a really good idea, and more of the monuments. And I had gone to MLK, just look at that piece where the big, are you calling them balloons on top?
It's hair, but
okay.
That's
Well,
okay.
I went to see that piece, but there they also have like 4 pillars in the front of that park, and they're all MLK, and every pillar has his quote on it. And I thought, wouldn't that be wonderful for Casiano, for every pillar to have somebody there, like Emma Tamayuca, or like all the people that have been a part of Casiano Park. So you had told me, I think it was you that said that that wasn't part of arts and culture.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct. That was something that Public Works did.
That
But as Desiree mentioned, they are interested in those stories and history as part of their
Yes.
interpretive plaza. So that could be something I can relay this information
Yes.
back to her that y'all are interested in that, and then we can still
It's
work
beautiful.
on the public
And it
art
doesn't have to
project.
be that big, because they're giant pillars, but it could be smaller, and every pillar could have a little bit of a plaque on that person that's been through this park historically. So that's what I liked.
Yes, thank you. And so I will plug that again for her that she is leaving that box at the pool. And but you can use the survey too.
Yes, okay.
In that, is there anything you want to know? And I'll share that information with her if that's easier. But yeah, we'll be sure that all of that information gets to them because I know that that's a very critical part as well.
About, yeah.
Yes.
So I liked Graciela Sanchez's idea, what she had said. I also like local leaders. I would like Mr. and Mrs. Sanchez, you know, on there because they were, you know, local leaders, and I would really like them. And they impacted, you know, the West Side a lot, and I would like to see a little bit of them, you know, in there. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you're including the history, I was expecting my brother to maybe say something about it, but according to our family, our grandfather, the Casiano was, there was a living spring there. And so, and it was also a place, I don't know what you call it, where bats congregate.
Oh, yeah.
And there are stories about it, you know, I've heard it from different seniors in our neighborhood or people who used to live there. So I don't know if you all have done any research on how that was an attraction for people to, you know, come to that park as well. And my grandfather used to take their cow there to drink water from the spring. So
That's so cool.
But you know, it's no longer there. So.
Thank you for sharing that. And even though we didn't have it as one of the overall themes, it does sound like that tie to nature is something that y'all are interested in. So please feel free to include that on the survey as well.
Well, and when I was on the bond committee, for parks, and I know we also got extra money. I'm not sure Tony pulled it together to find out, but there was extra money from not just parks, but from the creeks that's supposed to also go into this project. So it'd be nice to incorporate maybe some of the springs.
Oh, yeah.
Take down that concrete.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank y'all, and we'll still be here afterwards. We did have the QR as well, so if you wanted to do it digitally, we have it on these flyers as well. We still have the clipboards, and then Renee and I have our business cards as well. But thank y'all very much for your time. I know it was a long meeting, but we really, really appreciate this.
Thank you.
If you have a paper survey, we can take them up here if you'd like. Okay, great.
Thank you. Yes, I know if you